fractions to decimals to percents. One of the major 6th grade things you did, and I really need it in 7th grade as well. So we're gonna, I guess, review, I would call it. So today's date, we haven't taken notes in like a week. 8, 29, 24. Fraction to decimal to percent. Fraction to decimal to percent, which you've been learning since 6th grade, maybe even before 6th grade. All right. It's the title, it's what we're going to be doing. All of the above. All right. So, can someone remind me, if I have the fraction 2/5, how do I convert this fraction? This is what we call, obviously you know what it's a fraction, right? How do I convert it into a decimal? Yes, Gregory.
Divide it?
Divide it. Good. What number goes inside?
5. No, 2.
The 2. And what number goes outside? The 5. So remember, in and out, right? The top number is your in number, the bottom number is your out number, right? Okay, but 5 doesn't go into 2. So what do I have to do?
Add a 0.
Add a 0 and a decimal. Good. So decimal, or there, and a 0. So now we have 20. How many times does 5 go into 20? 4. So we have 4, and that gives me 20, and I'm done, right? Yeah. Fantastic. So my decimal is equivalent to 0.4. So how do I change this fraction, this decimal, into a percent? What would be the equivalent of 0.4 as a percent? Yes? 40%. How did you get 40%? Yes?
Because it's in the 4th place?
In the 4th place?
Sorry.
It's in the 10th place? Okay. So, yes.
I just moved the decimal like 2 times to the right.
Yes. So Gregory, the 0, the 4, how do I, yeah. Interesting. Okay, I have a follow-up question to that in a bit. Okay, so I, Bruce, like you, move the decimal 2 times. Have you guys ever heard of using the word deep? Deep?
No.
Like deep sea? But the D is capitalized and the P is capitalized. What do you think the D stands for?
That's
Yeah. And what do you think the P stands for? Yeah. So sometimes it gets kind of complicated, and you're like, okay, if you have the decimal 0.4, some kids are like, well, how many times do I move it? Now, if you know, you know, but this is just a reminder. You move it 2 times. And I like to use the word deep because the 2 E's tell you how many times to move it and in which direction. If I'm going from D to P, I'm going to move it to the right 2 times. 1, 2, right? And that converts it into a percent, 40%. Because sometimes kids are like, I only move it once. And I'm like, why? Because there's one number. And I'm like, oh, God, no. Always move it twice, to the right, and sometimes to the left. All right. We're okay? Yeah. Trick question. How do you write 40% as a fraction? 40 over 100. Now, does anybody know what 40 over 100 is simplified to?
25.
So I said it's a trick question. So you can start off as 40 over 100 because percents are out of 100, right? But when you simplify it, you should go back to where you started. It's like a closed, it's a what is that? Circle? Not circle of life. It's a loop. What in science goes in a circle? Circle of
360?
life. No,
Circle
but
of life?
not circle of life.
The circle of decimal percent.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's try. Ooh, 5 out of 4. 5 out of 4. So, what would be the decimal of 5 over 4? What number goes inside? 5. The 4 goes outside. Now, does 4 go into 5?
Yes.
Yeah, how many times? 1. So we're going to put the 1 on top of the 5. 1 times 4 is 4. Remainder 1. Now, decimal 0, bring down. Now we have 10. How many times is 4 going to 10? 2 times. That goes on top of the 0. 2 times 4 is 8. Remainder 2. But we don't do remainders. We add another 0 and bring it down. Now we have 20. How many times is 4 going to 20? 5. And that gives us 20 and we're done. So that's our decimal. 1.25. Fantastic. What would our percent be?
125?
Yep. How many times do you move it? 2. So 1.25. You still move it to the right because D turns into P. 1, 2. So it would be 125%. 125%. Move it 2 times. Move it 2 times. Trying to find a nice. No, 1 divided by 8. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. Okay, here's your next fraction. Ready? 3 over 8. 3 over 8. Tell me the decimal and tell me the percent of 3 over 8. You don't have to turn the page if you have room. I turn the page because I write a lot bigger than you guys. Yeah, you should be able to now do it by yourself.
Okay.
I mean, some of you were able to do it by yourselves, like, even before I started. All right. Did we get the decimal?
Yeah.
Screenshot. Okay. 8 goes into 67. 56. Okay, cool. So we have 0.375. How many times do we move it? 2 times. So what's my percent?
37.5.
Yes. Long division. Good. Get used to doing long division. Don't be afraid of long division. Long division gets easier the more you do it. It is what it is. Yeah, we did it. We did it. Ooh. Okay. Let's see. What if I work backwards? What if I give you the decimal 0.17? So I start off with a decimal, and I want to know what's the fraction of 0.17 and what's the percent of 0.17. So how would you go from given a decimal, which should be easier because there's no dividing now, ish. Yay, there's no dividing. So how would you go from a decimal to a percent to a fraction? Or anyway, a decimal to fraction, decimal to percent. How would I convert decimal 0.17? What would I do? What are my answers? Percent's the easiest one. What would be the percent? 17%. Yep. 17%. Okay, what's my fraction? What place value is the 7 in? It's in the hundreds. It's in the hundreds. Yep, hundreds. Okay, so if it's in the hundreds, what would be your denominator? 100. Or you can think about it as a percent, I should say. What are percents always out of? 100. So you can start off with a denominator of 100, and then what's your numerator? 17. Now, can we simplify 17 over 100? No. So we are done. I chose 17 on purpose. Why? Because there's no simplifying there. So this is like the level 1. This is the easiest one I could give you. I mean, I could also give you like 19 and 23 because you can't simplify. But if I give you, let's say, I have a good one. Do I? I don't know. What if I give you the decimal 0.25? What would be the percent and what would be our fraction? 25%. Yes. So 0.25 would be 25%, right? That's pretty easy, right? But now, how do I change 0.25, 25% into a fraction? How do I get this decimal, this percent, into a fraction? Yes, Logan. Yeah, that's a great place to start. 25 over 100, right? Yeah. Because the 5 is in the hundreds place. 25% is out of 100, right? We always want to score 100% on our test. Now you look at 25 over 100 and you're like, oh, I can simplify. What can I simplify 25 and 100 by? Not 4. By not 20. By 25. Could you have chosen 5? Yes, but you would have worked harder than what we're going to work. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25? 4. So our fraction would be 1/4. So we start here, but we got to end here. And this is simplifying, which you've done. Did you guys do the giant ones in 6th grade? Yes. So this right here is your giant 1, right? If you haven't done the giant 1, it's just all simplifying. The math is still the same. Are we okay with this? Let's see. Ooh, I got another one. Should I give you a percent? Yes. Let's give you a percent. You scored an 8%. I'm so proud of you. Your percent is 8%. Woo! Woo! What would be the decimal and what would be the fraction? 8%. You scored a whopping 8% on the assignment. You are just out of this world amazing. So, 8%, huh? What would be the decimal?
0.078.
How many zeros should there be?
2.
Yeah, right? One in the front, one in the back. Just in case you're like, what? If you look at the word deep, right? Or you can think about it. I have 8%. Now I put it in the back because we start off with 8%. Now, where is the decimal if you don't see it? Where does it belong if you don't see one? No. Where is the decimal on 8% as an 8%? Behind it, right? So we start there in the back. If you don't see it, it's always in the back. Now we're actually going to go to the left. How many times? 2. 1 and a 2. Now the decimal's in the front and we add a 0. So your answer should be 0.08, or you can add another 0 in the front. But you must have that 0. That's the one that will make it right or wrong. If you told me 0.8, that is 100% wrong. You have to have that 0 right there. Okay, what's our fraction?
8 over
8 over 100. Yep. Divide by 4. I like it. So the 8 here is in the hundredths place, not in the tenths place, in the hundredths place. Or you can think about it as 8%. 8 is always out of 100 because it's a percent, and then you simplify. So our final answer for everybody should be 2 over 25. Are there any questions? Are we okay? Can we do all three? Are we okay? I mean, I only gave you 1% to a decimal, but these two are very similar. Okay. Any more examples, or are we feeling okay about this? Okay. All right, I'll check in. Okay, yay. All right, so this is fractions to decimals. So if it's 13 out of 100, what would be the decimal of 13 out of 100?
0.13.
Good. 0.13. Now number 3, number 2, what do you guys want to do, 2 or 3?
3.
Okay, number 3 is 6 out of 10. So what would be our decimal 6 out of 10? Okay, 0, it's out of 10, right? So it's in the tenths place. So 6 out of 10, it would be 0.06. Because it's not of 100. Now, if you want to make it out of 100, if you're like, I don't know, I like hundreds, then add a 0 here and a 0 there. Yeah, but it would be still the same thing, right? We wouldn't have the 0 here. We would have the 0 back here. So if you're like more comfortable with it having 100 on the bottom, which I understand, I would too, you can add a 0 on the top and a 0 at the bottom. Because hundreds are your best friend. Yes?
Do you have to like do all the division thingies to where like the arrows and everything, or can we like?
Well, this is easy because do you have to divide on these? No, your answer is basically on the top, right? So yeah. I started, I don't think I made these worksheets hard. No, all of these are out of a 10 or 100, right? If I was mean and evil on Monday, I would give you worksheets that have 2/5, 1/4, 3/4, 7/8. That's coming later. Okay, so this should take you like 2 seconds, right? Some of you are done. No, this one's easy.